Hey, good people. Grits or cream of wheat? Who the hell is racist? Does anyone ever ask if they touch your hair?
Black Like Me.
You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Black Like Me.
Most of my public communications work comes through public speaking, but what many people don't know is that I'm a writer, but I'm also a poet. And I just put that away, I think, for years and years. But recently, when my family took a trip to Ghana, West Africa, I saw things that just sparked something really deep inside me, and I wanted to communicate the truths and the rawness of the emotions that I was experiencing in a way that sheer journaling or public speaking or a sermon or a speech could really capture. And so I wrote this poem, and it's called Colonizer, Please. Because having stood in the slave dungeons, having gone to the rivers, the very rivers where our ancestors were washed and branded before being sold because they were soiled and stood in human feces for months without being bathed before they went through the door of no return and got on ships going to the Americas. It just, standing in that place, I didn't want to think about the treatment of black people, but the barbaric nature of the white slaveholders who would think that it was legal, that it was biblical, that it was appropriate to treat people in such a manner. So I've got a lot of feeling and a lot of emotion in this, but this is the expression of some raw emotions I felt as I thought about the fact that there are still white people who deny the cruelty of the slave trade, that it was race-based, and that people could be so inhumane in their treatment of human beings made in God's image and likeness. Take a listen to Colonizer, please. Colonizer, Please, by Alexander G. Colonizer, please. Dear Colonizer, so now you're rewriting history again to say that we as Africans actually sold our own people into slavery? So now you're not to blame for the transatlantic slave trading? Colonizer, please. Of course we as Africans sold prisoners of war to you. We were not the first to do so. But what you fail to own is that once our ancestors realized the brutality of what you were doing, because America's system of slavery was unique in the world and based solely on race and was brutal and very sexually and economically violent and inescapable, we refused to continue doing business with you. And when we refused to supply you with free labor, you supplied our enemies with weapons to attack us, thus punishing the unwilling middleman. You then robbed his land, only after kidnapping his children, raping his women, and plundering his natural resources. And you have the audacity to call us savage. Colonizer, please. And to show the shamelessness of your commitment to your own God called greed and power, you raped and stole and beat and sold innocent people. You lied and brutalized in the name of my God of love. And you had the audacity to call us pagan? You had already proved that raping Africa's children, wives, mothers, and land was not beneath you. But even you stooped to a new low when you raped and manipulated the gospel and created, gave birth to, and nurtured bastard children called white privilege and American exceptionalism. Whore, please. Hypocrite, please. Colonizer, please. And now you just want to let bygones be bygones without meaningful conversation about real history, justice, or reparations? As if the past no longer matters, as if there's no connection between then and now. So let me get this straight. 400 years of systemic oppression has no relevance or detriment to today's economic and political status of African Americans, but 60 years of affirmative action has caused grown white men to cry in the streets. Blood and soil, we want our America back. Let's make America great again. Weak men, please. Scared men, please. Colonizers, please. Who hurt you, colonizer? Was it the crown in Europe? Was it the state church? The Pope? Is it the weight of self-imposed importance and worth? Was it the burden of the doctrine of discovery? I only ask because somebody must have hurt you really badly for you to have inflicted such pain on so many people. It must be hard to be you. And because you were broken, you thought you could or should break others, break us. After 400 years, you have discovered that the brokenness and weakness of your own soul was not commensurate to the power and resilience in ours. You talked about God. We talked to God, and vice versa. And as if now the playing field were truly even, as you suggest, and it's not, colonizer. It wouldn't have been because slavery didn't matter. It would have been because black lives and black excellence and black faith and black communities and black resilience all matter. You thought we were down for the count, didn't you, colonizer? You thought we wouldn't return to mother. You thought mother wouldn't remember us. You thought rape and chains and rope and home wrecking would break us. It did break our hearts, but never came close to breaking our spirits. You launched every evil your puny, sick minds could imagine, and we just kept multiplying in number, multiplying in faith, and multiplying in resolve. Didn't you know that you were dealing with kings and warriors when you stole us? Didn't you know you were in for a fight, colonizer? You walked us through the doors of no return, but guess what? We've returned. You bathed us in the slave river and merchandised us with branding irons and separated us from family and distributed us like wares. And guess what? Your brand has worn off, and we now determine our own future. You chained us like criminals and marched us like prisoners of war, and then stacked us in ships like cargo and sailed us far from home. And guess what? We've returned to mother on turbo wings and in business class seating. We nursed what would become America into statehood and into an international superpower, the same way we nursed your white babies on our black breasts, because we were strong, because we knew how, and because we were forced. And now you tell us to go back home if we don't like the way things are handled in America? Guess what? We were here standing on what would become American soil when America was birthed. And in all likelihood, we were standing on what would become American soil when most of you arrived. We were already speaking English when you arrived with foreign tongues. We've been here 400 years, since 1619. When did y'all arrive, colonizer? We're not strangers to America's shores. We're just estranged from her full benefits of citizenship. You've questioned whether black is beautiful. You've questioned whether black lives matter. You better ask somebody. You thought Africa was our shame? It was our pride, our strength. You should be so lucky to have been born in Africa. You've had your say for the past 400 years. Listen now to what we're about to say. The best is yet to come. Mother's children are reuniting. And do we need your permission or blessing? Colonizer, please. I want to thank Corey Saffold for creating the music for this podcast, my podcast manager, Tyler Nyland, engineer and editor, Eli Steenlich, my editor, Jeremy Holliday, and a special thank you to WORT Studios, where we record Black Like Me.
Ooh, Black Like Me.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. You can find out more about Dr. Alex G's amazing work at www.alexg.com. Black Like Me is sponsored by the generosity of the Human Family Unity Foundation.
Ooh, Black Like Me.